You're talking about he has 500 followers. I was like, the Riddler's like a content creator.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Binge Twins. Welcome to our channel. If you're new, you should definitely go down and subscribe, especially if you're fans of the Batman. We just got back from seeing the new Batman movie. We're about to talk all about it.
Not to mention, currently, I've actually been binging Titans on HBO Max. DC Titans has been my current world.
Your life.
Yeah, no, that's going to be for another conversation in another video. So definitely subscribe to see my thoughts on Titans once I catch up on the show. Just getting back from seeing the Batman, this movie is not for, the faint of heart. This movie is not for like your typical Batman fan, because there's a lot of like references, and just the point where Bruce's life is at in this movie is a very complex and different point than we're used to seeing in Batman movies, I feel like.
They just installed the bat signal, so
right, it was still a little crooked too, like it wasn't very clear still. They were still working on the logo a little bit, I think. Yeah. The boots were really chunky and heavy too. I was like, okay, the costume,
heavy armor, it was very much vintage, very vintage. Even the flying scene, that was something. It was like a test almost to see if it would work.
Because he busted his ass when he tried to fly on that thing too. It was all good clean until the landing. It wasn't clean at all.
It wasn't clean. And it looked kind of crazy too. It looked like this puffed up like parachute. It was like, okay, you haven't really done this yet.
Right, yeah. They shot it really cool too. They got really cool shots of it, but I was just like, oh wow, this is the prototype. Gotham is at a very vulnerable place in this movie. Gotham City is in the throes of like their mob bosses and crime at an all-time high. It's the grittiest version of Gotham that you can probably get in a Batman movie.
Yeah, literal camera shots from his point of view, where you see the cops like looking at him like, half of them think he's a freak, literally. Like they're not even used to him at all yet, and they weren't down with him. I just appreciated that because he's, of course this was Detective Batman. This movie showed the most like on the crime scene, figuring out clues and riddles, Detective Batman.
I'm just gonna say it. I appreciate that Jim Gordon was black Jim Gordon, and a black mayor of Gotham City.
True.
How about that? It is 2022, black.
Does it come in black?
I also appreciated learning that dynamic between Batman and Jim Gordon and seeing it in such an early phase, because the two of them obviously developed such a strong trust for each other, but it really started, really tense, because you have Jim Gordon around all these cops who do not mess with Batman at all, that are very confused why Gordon keeps sticking up for him. Like, why are you bringing this psycho around us?
We don't know what his background is. He has no resume. Like, all we know is that he scares the hell out of people. He can fight, and now he's on crime scenes and analyzing stuff and looking at evidence and whatnot. When you start wondering who he is, you're like, okay, so he's like really smart too. Like this guy is like high level like thinking. Like, that's why someone like Gordon trusts him and wants him around and stuff to analyze, because he's just like, yo, he seems to really like be able to put things together.
The camera in the contact lens, that was pretty crazy tech though. That was pretty cool.
That was crazy.
That was pretty, and it was the way that he had it set up too to watch it back on that really crazy like recording system. Like that tech was actually crazy.
That tech was crazy. Now, he had his gadgets. I think just the way the movie was produced and made by Matt Reeves, that's the story of the movie. The cinematography, the music, the feel. Like, Matt Reeves literally hopped in his film noir bag. I was just looking at the article about movies he was influenced by, and it's like murder movies and The Manchurian Candidate. This is an artistic like composition of a Batman movie.
What do you think was the biggest highlight of the movie for you, and what was something that you feel like they definitely could have improved on, or that you wish they did differently? Like, would you say the best part of the movie was the cinematography?
I would
like
say
the
that was the highlight of the movie for me.
I think that's what makes the movie stand out the most, absolutely, because the shots that they got, that's what makes this such a strong film. Not just a movie, but a film. It's literally like cinema. It's such an experience just visually.
One thing is fight scenes. Like I said, the opening fight scene was really the best one to me in the whole movie. And of course, we're dealing with a villain that isn't a fight villain, end of the movie showdown kind of villain. We're dealing with the Riddler. The fight scenes I feel like I could have used a little bit more of. And I also don't think they did too much with Catwoman in the end. I mean, I thought Zoe Kravitz was really good. Like, I thought she was doing her thing, really. For one, she never became actually Catwoman.
Yeah, well, I mean, they just kept her in like the knit like ski mask thing the whole time. I thought there was going to be like an evolution kind of moment, but you know, she's probably new, just like a young Batman. But like, in terms of just the visual, I mean, you know, I'm still stuck with the fabulous image of Michelle Pfeiffer in vinyl patent leather head to toe like iconic costume. So in terms of the wardrobe, it really didn't signify the strongest Catwoman that I feel like they could have done, but Zoe Kravitz looked amazing, like in and out of her costume. She looked incredible, and she did a fabulous job. But visually, I just feel like we could have gotten more Catwoman. They really made the Riddler like just as bad as like the Joker. I mean, he flooded the entire city of Gotham. Like, he was pulling off some Ra's al Ghul type stuff. I was like, he really has raised a League of Shadows of his own with loyal followers dressing up with machine guns and giving each other tips on rifles. Like, he created a whole community. They're talking about he has 500 followers. I was like, the Riddler's like a content creator. He's built an audience, you know what I mean? He knows his audience well enough, and they showed up and showed out for him. The Riddler as the main villain was completely psychopathic. He was off the rails. Like, he was nuts. I mean, just his look even alone, like just the hooded mask over his face, like there was nothing comical about this Riddler at all. It was next level crazy, really. Like, he was out of his mind.
And he's leaving these clues for Batman.
Leaving these clues, and has this connection to Bruce too. I was also like a little curious if there was going to be more of a personal connection.
Like a family connection, like
because he was there, he
something,
said, when Thomas Wayne gave his mayor speech, and you saw him in like a picture briefly. So I was wondering if there was going to be more to the story there, but he just seemed to kind of be like another disgruntled orphan, just kind of bitter that Bruce grew up with everything, you know?
And like I mentioned to you earlier, the scene with him and Batman in the prison, not knowing if he realized that Bruce Wayne was Batman yet. And I thought that was a cool like little wrinkle of a mystery in there, because I thought that's what we were getting ready to find out, was that he knew he was Bruce Wayne. Even that moment, you saw his body language change, because he's like, wait, does he know he's talking to Bruce Wayne right now? He's figuring out Gotham. He's learning Gotham and the ways and who runs what and how things really are.
He has a new perception of what Gotham is. He just learned his father isn't exactly who he thought he was, and it turns out Gotham may not have been what he thought it was going to be, because it is a disaster, you know, like we all know that. But he made the choice to say, like, actually, I'm going to lead the people out of the water with a torch of fire and be that guy, you know, extend my hand, extend the olive branch, like, I will help you, I will be that person.
Yeah, the typical fan, like, this isn't an action movie. This is not a superhero action movie.
Right.
It wasn't like some big ending, you know, it wasn't like a big battle. I mean, he fought the Riddler guys or whatever at, you know, and save those people.
And it's not necessarily a happy ending either, honestly.
No.
Because the city's still flooded, you know, and I was definitely not expecting to hear Joker's voice at the end in Arkham Asylum, that's for sure. I was just like...
And I saw who that is, too. It's Barry Keoghan, you know, that kid. He's actually an Eternal. Rebelled against them, and then they had to go find him later on. The kid,
Shut up. He's playing the Joker?
Yeah.
This is the early Batman career. So, like, the city is in full-on disarray. Hence the need for a Batman to start cleaning up the streets. Like, this is that prime era. You know, Penguin hadn't even become the real Penguin yet. Like, this is kind of the early stages.
Yeah. There wasn't much Penguin action. Yeah. The car scene was obviously, like, we had seen it in the trailer, like, moments from it. And the car scene kind of became, like, the one, like, big scene with Penguin. But
it felt very much like he was in a preliminary stage of his career. It was very Oswald Cobblepot, not the Penguin. Yeah. That's why I was surprised that they were even referring to him as Penguin yet, because that's like the villain.
Who's another villain that you would like to see used in this this universe.
Honestly,
with this Batman.
I think a Two-Face might be interesting to put in here. Again, seeing Joker and Riddler start to communicate in this one was fascinating to think of, like that team up kind of moment, which I love when they do in Batman movies, especially just it being so political. I feel like Two-Face or Harvey Dent would work really well into, you know, the state of Gotham.
I am the Batman.
I feel like I've seen Mr. Freeze thrown out there.
I've heard rumors about a Mr. Freeze moment. That could be very interesting.
Maybe a Scarecrow, but I feel like Scarecrow is pretty common.
Scarecrow would be lit though. This is the most like mysterious, dark, you know, like definitely cinematic, but definitely unlike any other Batman movie that you will ever see. Somebody went so far to even say, you know, forget about the Snyderverse, this is the new way, you know, wow. Robert Pattinson forever. I was just like, wow.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving Robert Pattinson?
As Batman,
yeah.
A 1 to 10, I'm gonna give him a solid 8. Maybe an 8.5, but I think I'm gonna stick with the 8.
I think I'm going with a 9. I think I'm going with a 9.
I will say the journaling and the narrating that he was doing, there was one quick second that I almost got Edward Cullen a little bit because it sounded like Twilight Breaking Dawn. Just 1 second, I was like, it sounds like the Volturi are coming for like 1 second.
Right. The first shot of Wayne Manor when Alfred is downstairs working on the cipher for him and he walks up to him, I'm not even looking at them. I was too stuck at looking at the surroundings, like a completely gothic castle setup. It was like overboard gothic. Like it wasn't even like a mansion. It was a like dark Dracula castle.
I've never seen a Wayne Manor that looked like that before. It was really like borderline creepy. I got the vibe that Bruce was already becoming somewhat of a recluse too, because when he went to the mayor's funeral, everybody who saw him was like, oh my God, Bruce Wayne. Like, it was literally like, you know, he crawled out of his cave, literally. One of the biggest highlights I can ever point out in a movie is when the music is done well, and the music was done very well.
So well.
Yeah.
The composer is the same composer who did Spider-Man No Way Home. He did The Incredibles. Like, he did Doctor Strange.
And anytime you hear Ave Maria as the first song of a movie, you know the movie's going to be crazy. And then they had the nerve to play Ave Maria they played it at the mayor's funeral. Yeah. And then they had the nerve to have the Riddler singing a cappella with his crazy behind singing Ave Maria. I was floored. Honestly, I was finding myself trying to like get the riddles every time he opened the envelopes. Like I got a few of them. I'm not going to lie. Like leave a comment down below if you were trying to get the riddles like I was, because I got one of them. I was like so excited. Definitely leave your comments down below with your thoughts on the Riddler, Catwoman, everything that we discussed in our review. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on the Batman. Make sure you're subscribed to Binge Twins. We're definitely going to do a lot more DC content. On the channel, you'll find fight trailers, reactions to other crazy trailers. And like I said, I'm catching up on Titans right now. Right. DC Titans on HBO Max is the show that DC fans deserve. So definitely subscribe so you can see our upcoming content on that show, because like I'm tapped in.
He said a rat with wings. I'm like, he's talking about you.
Isn't it a bat? Yeah. Talking about a falcon. It was just a lot of theories and a bat.
Rat with wings. It rhymes with bat.